and welcome to the Stratazine podcast. I'm Abby Nelson. Joining me today is
Haley,
Kennedy,
Olivia,
Kenzie,
Brinley,
and Haley.
Our topic today is everything you need to know about trends. Before we actually get into it, we should define what a trend actually is. A trend can be a sound, product, challenge, hashtag, style, phrase, or type of content that suddenly gains attention online. Trends spread because they connect with people, get pushed by algorithms, and can become part of digital culture. Haley, you researched the latest on why trends go viral. Could you introduce us to what you discovered?
Yes, it was really interesting because I learned a lot. The top 3 things that can help a trend go viral. Number 1 is that they're easy to participate in. Number 2 is that they evoke a strong emotion. And the third one is that the algorithm is able to boost them. And I'd love to talk more about this in my video.
What makes a trend go viral? Here are the basics. Number 1 is easy participation. In order for content to go viral, it needs to be easy to understand, easy to contribute to, and easy to share. Jade Beeson said on her channel that the key to viral content is to create content that is easily shareable, because the more people who share it, the more people who will see it. Number 2 is emotional relevance. For content to catch current, it needs to stick. This can be done through a story, relatable experience, or humor. ScientificAmerican.com described a study where people were shown to share content after an emotional experience. They asked people how likely they would be to share content after watching it. It was shown that they were more likely to share after they had an emotional experience. For example, Thanushka, an influencer on Instagram, posted an embarrassing story time which brought her thousands of likes and shares. The third is the algorithm. To put it simply, priority is given to content with higher views, and feeds are curated to the interests of the viewer. World.edu posted an article on the science behind viral social media posts. They said that social media algorithms boost content that already has high engagement, which accelerates viral spread by exposing it to larger audiences. For Strategy, I'm Haley Plummer.
Okay, guys, I do have a question though. What content are you guys seeing right now that uses those 3 things, where they're easy to participate in, the algorithm boosts it, or it has a strong emotion?
Yeah, Haley, we were actually all just talking about this just the other day. We were specifically talking about get ready with me's, or like the day in the lives that we're seeing and have been seeing for a while. They've been really popular. And we were specifically talking about how in these videos, the girls are doing things like drinking their supplements in the morning, or picking out their cute workout set, or different things like that. And we were talking about how emotionally it's made us feel like all of a sudden we need to be doing these things, or like, oh, well, maybe my day needs to look like that. Maybe I need to be the girl that has all the cute workout sets. And so I do think with what you were sharing that these trends do affect you emotionally, and it has affected me to think that like I need to be doing those same things.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that every single morning.
I love it. Haley and Olivia, I love your examples on how trends affect us emotionally. Kennedy, you've been looking into how brand involvement with trends. Can you talk us about that?
Yeah, basically I researched how trends go viral and then how brands capitalize on that strategically. Usually what looks spontaneous online is actually like often driven by psychology, the algorithm, and just carefully planned marketing tactics. And that's what I talk about in my video here. I'm going to be talking about why trends go viral from a brand perspective. Before I get into it, you might want to ask yourself, why are trends everywhere? Trends dominate digital culture nowadays. Viral content does spread rapidly, and brands do use trends to stay relevant. But this isn't luck. It's based on psychology, algorithms, and culture. This all leads to viral content. Trends spread because platforms reward engagement. Research by Berger and Milkman found that emotional, useful, or surprising content is shared more. Then, platforms like TikTok boost content through watch time, shares, captions, hashtags, and sounds, creating social proof as more people join in. Brands use trends because they help increase awareness, reach specific audiences, influence purchases, and helps the brand stay relevant. K18's hair flip challenge is a great example because it did not just follow a trend, it created one. By using creators' dramatic before and after transformations and the hashtag #HairTalkCommunity, K18 turned a viral challenge into product awareness, social proof, and demand. Successful brands do not just copy trends, though. They spot them early, track hashtags and sounds, and use tools like the TikTok Creative Center, and then adapt trends to fit their brand. They also partner with creators, so the trend feels natural instead of forced. Not every trend is worth joining, though. If brands rely too much on trends, they can lose authenticity, weaken their identity, and create audience fatigue. Trends can get attention, but overusing them can hurt long-term trust. Virality can create attention, but strategy is what creates value. The most successful brands will use trends that fit their identity, fit their audience, fit their goals, and then going viral is only the beginning. The real goal is turning that attention into awareness, demand, trust, and/or long-term growth. If you are a social media manager or looking to be one, just know trends can be helpful, but they can also be distracting. The key is knowing when a trend fits your brand and when it is better to skip it. Before using a trend, ask if it connects with your audience, supports your goals, and builds trust. That is what turns viral attention into real marketing value. With Stratazine, I'm Kennedy Shakespeare.
Wait, so Kennedy, how can brands spot good trends early on?
Yeah, so one helpful way is through social listening, which is basically just paying attention to what people are already interacting with and liking, and basically just what sounds are starting to show up more, what hashtags are people using. A great way for social media managers to see, like I said, is the TikTok Creative Center. It helps social media managers see what sounds, what hashtags, and just all the creators that are trending right now before they get too big.
Okay, so trends can be planned more than people think.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think virality can still feel really random, but brands are more intentional with than people realize. If they notice a sound or format or topic starting to gain attention, then they usually find one that feels natural to their brand and not forced.
Is that what happened with that brand, K18?
Yeah, K18 is a really good example. They didn't just make a basic ad saying buy our product. They already used creators and strong before and after content, and then used their hashtag Hair Talk community that was there. So they already were reaching an audience of people that were interested in dramatic hair transformations and wanting to see hair products. So instead of just a basic ad, it helped turn the product into social proof and real demand that people wanted to recreate too. So just kept going.
Yeah.
Wow, Kennedy, thank you for your research, and Kinsey for your thoughtful questions. This segment showed that trends go viral because platforms reward engaging, relatable content, while brands strategically use that attention to build awareness and growth. Next, we will look at why people actually follow trends in the first place and the psychology behind participation.
Yeah, I thought I had like a general understanding of how my own brain works until I started researching this topic, and I learned that actually trends are very psychological. And when I got into that in the video and my research, I started to learn more about myself. Let's talk about you, the actual person behind the screen, because trends don't just go viral on their own. Real people like us participate, so why do we do it? Think about your own For You page right now. When you see a trend and you have the urge to participate, why is that so? It's definitely not random. It's actually very psychological. You follow trends not just for entertainment, but to signal identity and belonging. Research by structural learning on social identity theory shows that social media behavior is heavily influenced by our desire to feel connected to certain groups, which is why trends, and especially controversial ones, drive so much engagement. Strong emotional reactions make people want to comment, share, and take sides, but even outrage is still participation. Every trend you engage with or choose to avoid shapes how others perceive you. As a future social media manager, learning which trends align with your values and credibility now matters before your brand's reputation is attached to your decisions. So, what does this mean practically? Research by Nature Communications has found that people who show up more authentically online report higher life satisfaction. Knowing when to opt out of a trend is one of the most valuable skills a social media manager can have. Follow trends that align with who you are and let the rest pass by. I'm Olivia with Stratazine. In my video, I talked a little bit about controversy and even outrage. So I wanted to ask, what controversial trends are we seeing and what are the effects of those trends?
I think one of the biggest controversial trends that comes to mind when I think of controversial trends, it's way back, I don't even know when it was, but when people were doing like the cinnamon challenge or the Tide Pod challenge, people are just like being so reckless and dangerous, and fully being aware of how reckless and dangerous they were. And throughout my research, I was actually able to find that your brain creates these, it's called a conformity in your head, where it kind of just like flips a switch in your brain. So I'm sure what happened during the cinnamon challenge and the Tide Pod challenge, what happened was all of these people were seeing these different audiences and large groups of people just participating in it, and a switch flipped in their brain, and it was like, oh, well, actually, because X, Y, and Z or so and so participated in it, that automatically makes it okay, or it just makes it seem a little bit less bad when all of us are fully aware of the dangers that went into the Tide Pod challenge or the cinnamon challenge. Like, people were doing so many stupid things and risking their lives basically without even realizing it.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's the psychology that comes with trends. It like almost becomes justifiable to participate because such a large number of people are either using the sound or the hashtag or doing that video, whatever it might be. It just became justifiable because of the number of people that were participating in it.
Totally, yeah.
Isn't that so interesting, you guys? You've talked about it from your perspective. Kinsey, you're going to talk about it from a brand perspective. Will you dive into that?
Yeah, so I've been looking at how brands use trends strategically and not just to go viral. It's because they're trying to build an identity for themselves that creates trust and then ultimately turns that trust into customers. So let's look at why trends matter for brands. Most brands don't follow trends just to go viral. The real goal is visibility, engagement, and turning attention into customers. Brands use trends because social media algorithms reward highly engaging content. Trends help brands enter conversations people are already paying attention to. But people don't just follow trends, they follow brands that reflect their identity, values, and lifestyle. When audiences emotionally connect with a brand, they're more likely to trust it, engage with it, and eventually buy from it. Research shows engagement for brands is usually lower than engagement for creators, because people naturally connect more with people than companies. That's why successful brands try to feel more human and relatable online. For brands, engagement is about building lasting relationships. This is where originality and familiarity become important. Trends work because they feel familiar and easy to recognize, but brands still need originality to stand out. The strongest brands don't copy every trend, they adapt trends to find their identity. The brands that grow the most aren't the ones chasing every trend. Successful brands stay consistent while still adapting to culture. They use trends intentionally instead of forcing every viral moment. Overall, trends help brands get attention, but it's their identities and values that build long-term customers. For Strategizing, I'm Kenzie Roberts. Okay, so now I'm wondering, have any of you ever bought into a brand because of a trend that they hopped on?
Oh my gosh, wait. Haley, didn't you say that you were doing something like that yesterday?
Yeah, like actually this week, I was on Instagram just watching reels and I saw one that was like a POV trend. And those are so big right now. Like so big, I almost like forgot that it was a trend. But it's like the POV, like everyone's laughing and you don't know what's going on. Like POV, you woke up late, all of those. And so I saw one and it was POV, you don't have to worry about eating dairy again. And I'm lactose intolerant. So I was like, that's super interesting to me specifically. And it led me on a whole deep dive down the brands Instagram and on websites where I learned about these dairy patches that are new and could possibly help with lactose intolerance. And so that one trend led me to actually purchase them, and now I'm wearing them. So yeah, that literally happened this week. So it's relevant. Wow. Happens to everyone. That's cool.
Isn't it crazy how in a world of social with a ton of content, right? Trends have the power to bring awareness. When we look at a customer journey, right? It introduces us to a product, and quickly we can go to the conversion stage, right? Mm-hmm. Because we became aware of it. You then considered the brand, and then you converted, right? Yeah. As we say, and you purchased it. Totally. And now you're telling us about it, what a lucky brand for them, right?
Seriously.
Unpaid ad.
I love it. Yeah, unpaid. Mm-hmm. Let's move to our next segment, Brindley. You've looked into consumer interactions with trends.
Yes, I have. One thing that I've learned through my research is that consumers who interact with trends are a big, huge building block in the trends themselves. You can't really have a trend if you don't have people interacting with it or even just eyeballs on it. And I talk a little bit about that, and I also note on a couple things that Kenzie said in my video.
Trends matter to consumers because they use them to judge whether brands are authentic and whether that culture around them feels real, relevant, or forced. In an article from the Science Direct Journal, researchers found that brand authenticity often has a large effect on the consumer's reaction to the brand. Now, let's explore this. Brand authenticity was connected to trust, credibility, and loyalty all throughout this article. So, from the consumer, trends matter not only because they influence what people see, but also how people act and who they trust. Trends are unfortunately more than just silly TikTok dances and trends that people recreate. Yes, those can be a type of trend, but trends are really anything that starts influencing people how to think, act, and interact with online. We will start by exploring some social media trends first. In my research, I found a source from eMarketer that showed 41% of consumers actually very much enjoy it when brands join social media trends, but only when that trend is relevant to their brand image. If that trend that your brand jumps on doesn't relate to your brand image, it can create confusion and actually make your consumer uncomfortable. This is another reason why brand authenticity is so important. Your consumers don't want you to simply regurgitate a trend. As I said earlier, trends aren't just social media trends, and they can be found everywhere. One trend that you probably didn't realize was a trend is social media. Yes, the whole thing. In articles from CloTrack and Sprinkler, they both explored how social media has become a trend that has majorly changed consumers' behaviors. Now, it's much easier for brands to get in front of consumers with social media. Because of this, consumers are able to interact with brands more than ever, creating a larger importance behind the brand-to-customer relationship. Social media has even created an environment where advertising, interacting, and purchasing a product can all happen in the same place. This was all a huge culture shift that changed both our thinking and our behaviors. For Strategy, this is Brinley Smith.
Okay, so after learning a little bit about that, it got me thinking, Kennedy, I overheard you talking about the brand Rare Beauty and how you're a consumer of their products. I was just wondering, let's explore a little bit deeper into your customer journey or...
Sure, yeah. Well, I think a lot of people know about Rare Beauty at first because it is Selena Gomez's makeup brand, but their content just really sticks out to me in their social media because their content is very consistent with their identity. Their brand, not only post the makeup and the products, but they highly just make it really important to talk about mental health, self-acceptance, and just everything that teenagers nowadays need to hear. And I think that's just a really cool thing for a brand to stand for. And not only do they talk about it and post about it, about mental health and stuff, they actually have actual action to back it up with their Rare Impact Fund. So it just makes that beauty brand stand out to me more, and as a customer makes me want to support them and find them as a really cool, reliable beauty brand.
Yeah, and it's cool that they're able to position themselves in a certain way that they can outpour those different things on their platform.
Yes, with their makeup as well. It's super cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Creating that consistent brand message always, right?
Yeah.
I love it. Brinley, Kennedy, thank you. Haley, tell us about how trends can build brand engagement.
Yeah, so this just builds on what we've been talking about with customer journeys and the importance of trends and using them correctly. And so I want to talk here more about building this engagement.
Engagement on social media refers to the measurable actions taken by viewers to interact with your brand's content. For example, likes, comments, shares, reposts, etc. This is important for connecting with your audience and influencing their consumer decisions. An article in the Marketing Management Journal stated, prior research on short-form video advertising has shown that consumers' engagement with the ad is a positive predictor of their decisions. According to a study done by Adobe, 1 in 4 marketers said they've gone viral from trend-based content, and 79% of them reported gaining new followers. Going back to the Marketing Management Journal, the article previously quoted was a research study conducted in 2025, where a group of researchers tested the effects of trending elements on short-form videos. They hypothesized that the presence versus absence of trending elements in short-form advertisements will lead to higher versus lower consumer engagement. After detailed data analysis of 750 short-form video ads found on TikTok, they found that the hypothesis was supported. Trending elements do impact engagement rates in a positive way. Now, how do you find the right trends for your brand? Landmark Advertising and Social Insider have some great tips. First, know your audience. This is always the best place to start. Second, analyze competitors' posts. What trends are working for them? Third, ask yourself questions like, would my audience relate to this trend? And lastly, follow industry leaders, influencers, and trending topics on social platforms. For Stratazine, I'm Haley Johnston.
Yeah, so hypothetical question. If you are a brand's social media manager, how do you find the line between being trendy and sticking to your brand values and campaign goals?
This can be really interesting because it can be so hard to find that line, especially because you see so much viral content online that is working. It's getting out there. People are seeing it. There's some engagement happening, right? But the problem with it is that it might not go with your brand very well, especially it might not go with your values. And so you need to ask yourself, is this going to help my brand in the campaign? Or is this going to be just a random strategy that I'm going to attempt each time that I post a video? And so if it does work, then try to stick to your values and adapt. Try to use that viral trend. But if not, don't use it.
Yeah, amen.
Love it. I want to ask a question here then. So should trends be the strategy or a trends part of a bigger social media plan?
Trends should never be your social media strategy. They can be a part, but I hope we've made it clear that it's not for everyone. A strategy is focusing on, like we talked about, the customer journey experience. You're focusing on awareness. You're focusing on conversions or advocacy or engagement. You're focusing on certain parts of, like, certain touch points that someone would have with your brand. And trends can help that if used correctly and using only trends that fit your brand, or they can hurt it pretty badly. And if you're trying to stick to only trends, you may blow up once or twice, but that's not going to convert to anything that you really want long term.
Yeah, I think with this as well, a perfect example, Kennedy, is the one you shared with Rare Beauty. For example, with them, like you said, you feel like their content's very consistent. They're posting about mental health, and then they're showing that they care about that through their actions. And so if all of a sudden one day you were like scrolling and then you saw a video that they posted and it was more like silly, goofy, funny vibes, and they like hopped on this trend that was meant to be funny and less serious, you might feel a little put off because it doesn't match with their values. But I'm almost positive that Rare Beauty has jumped on a trend at some point.
Oh, yeah.
But they made sure that that trend already fit what they were already doing.
Yes.
So they already had this strategy, they already had this value or this vibe, and then they adapted that trend to fit that.
Yeah.
Rather than just using a trend that doesn't fit what they were already going for, what their values already were, and then putting their customers off in a way.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about finding your inner beauty and stuff. And if they were to post something that wasn't about that, it would put me off in a weird way. So, yeah.
Love it. It's a great way to end, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of Stratazine. Make sure to check out additional podcasts on digital and social media or on our YouTube channel.